Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast. I'm here obviously with the gorgeous co-host Amber Susa and our guest Amber Caudle. And
Hello.
we're,
Hello.
we're so grateful, Amber Caudle. How are we going to do this, by the way, with the two Ambers? What do you two do? Do you
What?
have
What do we do? I guess.
Other people that talk about us have called us by last name sometimes, like
Yeah,
they'll
for
say
sure.
like Susa, Caudle.
Caudle. Yeah.
All right.
We could do that.
We might need to do that.
Okay.
Caudle. So Caudle.
Yes. Yes.
You are glowing and we are excited to have you here. And I'm honored to get to meet Susa's friend.
Yes, Amber Caudle is like, she's one of my besties. Like, I don't have a ton of women that are local that I like hang out with, but Amber Caudle is one of my go-tos. And even though we don't see each other like all the time physically, like she's my girl, and we'll check in with each other and we'll be like, hey, let's go for a walk. And
Yeah.
she's one of those, I'll read the bio and I'll get to all that, but like she's definitely one of those women that I feel 100% safe and comfortable being myself, saying anything. And one of the reasons I was telling Siri, Amber, about you a little bit,
Yeah.
and I was like trying to explain in human design,
Okay.
there's the transpersonal and the personal.
Yeah.
And you're personal,
Yeah.
which means basically that you just say whatever is on your mind, like no filter, no. So you make it safe for pretty much everybody who's in your company to also feel like they can say anything. They're like, okay, well, I mean, if she's going to go there, okay.
Anything goes. Yeah.
Anything goes, right.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to read your bio, which is
This will be fun.
impressive. And then I'm also going to just give a little background to like how we know each other, and then we'll dive in. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
All right. Amber Caudle, a best-selling author, world-renowned chef, and an expert in mind-body nutrition and dynamic eating psychology, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. Her journey is marked by significant milestones, beginning with graduating from Auburn University with a degree in hotel restaurant management. This foundational education ignited her lifelong passion for food, setting the stage for a remarkable career. After dedicating 2 decades to her culinary career, with roles ranging from sous chef to executive chef in prestigious restaurants, she finally realized a long-cherished dream when she founded the Source Cafe in 2012. Happy 11-year birthday. Yay! This was driven by a profound desire to heal her own relationship with food and extend that healing to others, while making a global impact through the power of food, one meal at a time. Amber's path took a pivotal shift following her graduation from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, where she deepened her knowledge of the complex interplay between nutritional science and eating behaviors. Further enhancing her expertise, she is trained in true body intelligence, a transformative approach designed to address stress, trauma, and emotional blockages. Merging this with her culinary experience, Amber offers a comprehensive strategy to nutrition that nurtures both physical and emotional well-being, steering individuals toward a life of authenticity, peace, and freedom. Amber recently celebrated the publication of her best-selling cookbook, Sexy Nourishing Food to Heal Your Mind, Body, and Soul. The book is a vibrant showcase of her culinary talent and a testament to her deep insights into the restorative nature of food. Further reflecting her commitment, Amber's coaching service, Nourish Within, extends her expertise to those seeking guidance, emphasizing her dedication to encouraging healthier relationships with food and nurturing body positivity. Her work has established her as a guiding light for transformation and wellness in the nutritional community. Yay! That was a mouthful. I got through it. But there's so much. And the thing I'm so excited about, and I was telling Siri, Amber, so we've kind of been on this path together for all these years. And how I met you, I owned a fitness and Pilates studio up the street from the Source.
Yeah.
And so I would walk down to the source like almost every single day because it's the only place to eat in the South Bay, in my opinion. And so we got to know each other and we discovered that we were both on this like healing journey. And so I started this thing called the monthly mind body revolution at my fitness studio because I was so passionate about wanting to share like everything that I was learning and discovering with my clients who were there because they wanted to do high intensity fitness, not necessarily because they wanted to learn about healing, but I was like, I'm giving it to them anyways. And Amber was the first guest that I had. And so we invited like all the people that we knew in the South Bay. And so it was just, yeah, like it was a really significant moment because we were like together embarking on this new journey. And so we have really been like healing buddies this whole time and just sharing with each other and watching each other grow. And so, yeah,
Pretty,
it's been
pretty profound. Yeah. Pretty special. Yeah.
pretty special.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Take over. Yeah, I could talk all day.
beautiful, this friendship. And I like how you say healing buddies. And
I love that. Yeah.
I love how you're both entrepreneurs, and I love the fact that you're both like lifting each other up and complimenting each other in this way for so long, and that you can just be your whole selves with each other, and that you can help each other to feel more empowered and more free. And sounds so juicy and amazing and layered. I am curious, Amber, Caudle, what is a significant experience that you were never the same after? Just to kind of cut straight into like one of the juicier parts of your history, to kind of that was like a catalyst for bringing you into this embodied woman that you are today.
Okay. So when I hit one of my many rock bottoms with my big rock bottom before I opened up the source, and I decided that it was time for me to wake up and I wanted to heal my body with food, heal my eating disorder, take my power back from food. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was inflamed, overweight. I was drinking too much coffee, binging on sugar, drinking too much alcohol. And I went away to a spiritual retreat and I basically got cracked open, right? I got cracked open. And that was a pivotal, very pivotal point in my life where I started to pray and learn the power of manifestation and visualization and meditation and breath work. And I jumped all in. And when I came back from the desert, I was a completely different person. Like I was ready. And from that trip to the desert on my spiritual retreat, I came back humbled, but I also knew that I had this like deep, deep desire that I was ready to leave my old job at Mediterraneo. And this is a small story on how the source came to life. I knew that it was time for me to share my gifts. And I knew that I had a deep need for healing my body. And I knew that the community did too. And so that's a short story on how I opened up the source, but I was never, excuse me. I was
Bless you.
Excuse me, try not to sneeze on a podcast, but I was ripped open and there was no turning back. And, you know, I mean, the peeling had to start peeling the onion. I mean, the layers, I mean, it was painful, but I was ready and I was all in and I was not the same after that. Yeah.
Did you already mention when that was? And I missed it.
That was a year before I opened up the source.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know, so our timing, so I opened up Hip Studio, which was my first business in 2011. So this is like,
okay.
Right, so this is like, right. Yeah. When this is happening for Amber.
Yeah. So 2011, I went away and this is when I got cracked open and I knew the source was next. And then in 2012, 11 years ago, the Source Cafe was open.
Are you allergic to us?
It's so funny. I had that when I was facilitating breathwork like Sunday night. Yeah, last night. I kept having to sneeze right when I was in the middle of recording. And I was like, what are you going to do?
It could be I burp and I won't burp, I promise. But when I transmute energy, I sneeze and I burp. So maybe I'm sneezing. So
you're transmuting energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Burping on the podcast. So,
do you do Reiki?
I do level 1 Reiki, but I do a lot of the true body intelligence work that you read in the bio. I do a lot of spiritual energetic work and transmute energy. And so that's when I started tapping into that power. Yeah.
I do that too. I
Yeah.
sneeze and I burp and I fart. Yeah.
Yeah, and like cry and like it's all the things. And when it first started happening to me, I was like, what's wrong? But I mean, it's amazing. Now mostly it's burping when I work on people, and I just warn people, hey, it's gonna be weird. I'm probably gonna be burping a lot. Like just yeah. So
Yeah.
Amber
I
is
love
Amber
it.
is she is an incredible healer. I mean, there's so many
I
things
feel it. I
that you
feel it.
do, but yeah, like I've done sessions with her, and I mean, just like sobbed, and she's really been able to tap in. So we'll get to that, but will you share also, because I love stories about like divine timing and synchronicities.
Yes.
So tell us about, like, you had already kind of had a dream
Yes.
to open a place, and there was another restaurant that was there.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Tell them that story, because I love that story.
All right, this is a good manifestation story and visualization and how synchronicity works. So
Yes.
I started getting into the power of visualization and manifestation through breath work. And breath work was the first meditation. And I would sit there and visualize like turmeric, and all of a sudden turmeric would come up and I would start researching it. And so then the turmeric tonic, and I started making that and slinging it out of the back of my other restaurant, Mediterraneo. And then I started getting these visions of a little cafe during breath work. And I just started visualizing it and be like, okay, I know I need a storefront, God. Okay, God. I use the word God, universe, like send me a storefront. What is the next step here? I've got this turmeric tonic. I've got these kale chips and almond balls. What's the next step? And so across the street from the source was a Bikram studio. It's there today, but it was different. And I used to go to Bikram and stare across, and there was a little cafe called Planet Earth. And I would just watch the owner like put out the tables and the chairs. And it happened to be that she was my neighbor. And she and I lived in these little cottages, and our front doors were like literally like not very far apart, but we both worked crazy restaurant hours. And I mean, I never saw her. I lived beside her for, I don't know, 4 years. We never saw each other. And so I just kept thinking, I feel like one day I was doing Bikram and I looked at I was like, I feel like that's going to be my restaurant. Is that my restaurant? So one day I'm laying on the couch and I have these white, beautiful blinds, and they're blowing in the wind. And all of a sudden, I never get to nap, and I'm never at home. I was working 80 hours a week. And all of a sudden I like woke up and I looked outside, and there she is, Christina, my neighbor, and she's watering her plants, and she's home also. And so I just walk outside, and something out of my mouth just said, hey, do you want to sell Planet Earth? And she looked at me and she was like, yes. And I was like, wait, what? And I just got the chills. And I remember calling my mom. And I was like, wait, hold on. She said she wants to sell it. Now what? She was like, Ams, she was like, you asked the universe, and now it's time to perform. And here it is. And 45 days later, the source was open, and it was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm leaving a secure job, but I felt it in my soul. Like I knew that I had to open it. It was a scary, scary risk, right? I mean, everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone was like, restaurants fail. Nobody wants a healthy restaurant. And I was like, no, I like felt it in my soul. And just the whole way it happened. And like, I had visualized that restaurant, and then remembering being in Bikram and staring at it was like, I think that's my cafe. Mm-hmm. I don't know how this is going to happen and what's it's going to be called and what the whole thing. And there it was. And so it's just trusting in divine timing and being open and being patient. And then that beautiful moment of we're both home, my neighbor and I, and she's watering her plants and I'm napping. That was a very rare moment that, the universe brought us together, because it could have been months later where I was finally like, hey, do you want to sell your, like, it might have, who knows, a year later. So
you listening to your true soul self, you listening to your higher calling, you listening to something that other people thought was crazy, but doing it anyway. What a perfect example of being an embodied woman. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, we have that in common for sure. Like,
we really do.
We've kind of helped each other, like that's what happened to me when I opened All of Me. I was like, I don't know. I feel my soul is telling me this is the next step, and definitely had people around me that did not see it. And so it's been really helpful to have Amber, by my side, just like, and we've talked about that, Siri, like having other women that can help reinforce and validate, like, okay, if you're hearing this voice from within, if you're hearing that, if you're having this like soul calling, like it's there for a reason, and you know, follow it. And I mean, did you, because the source, I was telling Sarah, like the source is the only place that I ever want to go. Like it has, and I don't just say this because you're my friend, like I honestly, genuinely feel this way. It has the frequency of love. Like when you eat the food, I always feel good. Like I always, it's delicious, but also like you can just feel the frequency that it is made with and the love that it is made with. Like, so, I mean, how do you feel celebrating 11 years?
Amazing. I was like crying the whole day, looking at old pictures. I went in and just like celebrated my team and my guests. I mean, I have team members that have been with me for 11 years. Some of them moved from Mediterranean up with me. We've been together for 22. So I was just feeling, and then customers that come in, you know, 3, 4, 5 days a week, like yourself, like for 11 years. So just very, very grateful and just very blessed. Yeah. Like it's been, you know, of course there's moments of like, I want to quit or sell. This is like too hard, but it's like, it's the customers that keep me going, that give, you know, send me DMs and emails like my life has changed and I can't eat anywhere else. My health is different and my kids' health is different. And you helped me recover from cancer. And that, it's just, you know, it's amazing. So when I know that's the bigger picture, right? That's what keeps me going because So,
well, and you had, and I want you to share about this a little bit too, like your own healing journey with food and your body, like that's really what inspired you.
Yes.
Because you learned how to, so talk a little bit more about that, like your personal experiences that led you to now be an expert in how to heal your body with food. And
so for 30 years, I abused food. I had disordered eating of binging and restricting, starving myself, compulsive dieting, hating my body, not respecting food. And then God granted me the gift of being a chef. And so here I am, this chef, talented chef, and I'm working all, you know, serving all this beautiful food, but here I'm in the background, like binging my butt off. And I had my rock bottom and came back from the desert before I opened up the source and was like, okay, it's time for me to take my power back from food and start looking at the healing properties of food that I have not looked at my whole life. I've just been abusing food, and fall in love with food again, learn to love food and love my body at the same time. And so when I opened up the source, here I had the successful restaurant, and I was starting to educate myself about the healing properties of chlorella and, you know, how to rid my body of heavy metals and parasite cleansing. And I was going to naturopaths and functional doctors, and they were like, you can't eat these 15, 20 things. So then my food was being created from the inspiration of like not wanting to be deprived, right? So I was making brownies out of zucchini. And so meanwhile, so I am starting to heal myself with like beautiful food and reminding myself and teaching myself that what we put in our body matters now. But at the same time, I was still binging my butt off and restricting, and I still hadn't found self-love. So I was starting. So then I really dove in and started doing the hard work after the source was open and started realizing that, oh, wow, this is just a symptom. And this is not the root. And now it's time to dive into the root and get honest. And so then that's where like the real work came. And when I, you know, by the grace of God, like 7 years ago, I stopped binging and restricting. And then I got to start my self-love journey. So that was really a blessing. Yeah. And now that's why I have this newborn desire. And I always knew it was going to be a desire. I knew that the pain that I went through for 30 years, I mean, since I was 8 years old, starting to hide and sneak food and do everything weird with food in my body, that I knew from all the pain that I was going to be able to help women and teens one day from all of my suffering. And that's where Nourish Your Power, then my new coaching business, is coming to life right now, which is really exciting. So that's definitely, I love speaking about what we put into our body matters right now, and the quality of our ingredients, and then also how we eat, and everything, all these symptoms that show up in our life are just a symptom of something deeper, and looking at that as such a gift and a blessing. And so that's what I've now been speaking about and coaching about. And that's been like really healing in my journey too. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Like we say yes to the call of our soul. And then it's like, oh shit, I got to heal some shit too. like
Mm.
along with the people that I'm serving,
Oh yeah.
I gotta also start to heal this. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like, right. It kind of keeps you accountable to wanting
Oh
to heal
yeah.
your own stuff, because
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that's true for me.
Oh, it keeps me honest. I mean, when I'm helping and coaching women, it keeps me honest for sure. I can't, yeah, it's yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's still a journey. I mean, you know, I'm human, so I don't ever say with food, I'm not fixed or cured. It's of course I'm emotional and stuff comes up. I just get to navigate it differently. Now I get to like sit in it and look at it when it comes up and practice my tools. And I'm like, oh, here it is again. Okay, she's just scared. My little girl is scared. That's okay. Let's just look. Let's have some water. Let's have a nap. Now I get to navigate it with grace instead of just like disassociate and numb and be like, screw it. So it's of course I still get the triggers, but I just navigate it with grace now.
Mm.
Grateful for that. Yeah. So yeah.
Curious what you feel, because it's different for everyone we've had on the podcast, and it's always beautiful. So, what do you feel like for you, Amber, is the embodied woman? What does that mean to you?
Ooh, the embodied woman. So I love this question because I love talking about embodiment when I'm helping my women heal their relationship with food. Because I feel like to feel embodied is feeling alive, feeling comfortable in my own skin, loving every part of my body, turning tuned in and turned on, electric and magnetic. That to me feels embodied. Embodied is it's confidence, empowerment, it's moving more slowly, being in my divine feminine. You know, when I'm in my yang energy and my masculine and my overdoing, I'm not embodied, right? When I'm like overdoing it, like I've like now stepped out of my embodied woman. And so this embodied woman is loving every part of me and accepting me right now as I am, being able to be every cell is turned on and alive, and holding myself and my sensuality and sexuality. Yeah.
I love that answer so much. It's so gorgeous. I'm curious, I just want to have a follow-up question, and
Yeah.
then how in the restaurant industry, you talk about not going into that
Oh, yeah.
overdrive, like how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I'll probably write a book on that one day or do a course. I feel like, yeah, the masculine business, the restaurant business is is masculine, and it's a
Yeah.
male dominated industry. And I feel like 4 years ago, I really started doing like sensuality, sexuality, embodiment work because I was so much in my yang. And now it's really connecting to my womb in the morning. It's even when I catch myself getting like real wound up at work, I'll go into the bathroom and look at myself in the eyes. I might cut myself over my breast and over my vulva and like do some deep breaths from front of my like sexuological body worker practitioner that I work with, and like really get connecting to my that pelvic floor and my womb and my yoni, honestly. And sometimes when I
Hmm.
get really stressed, I'll be standing at the register and I'll start to just breathe and I'll do some Kegels and I'll feel my feet on the floor to have like a pattern interrupt, because it's so easy to get so wound up. And that's like it's a daily practice. I mean, that's like multiple times a day when I'm in the restaurant is to like move slower, breathe, really like feel my body. Like I have to feel my body. I have to feel my feet. I have to feel my womb. I do a Kegel. I do some deep breaths. Sometimes I'll be holding my breath at the register and smiling. People don't need to know that I'm doing kind of some spine breathing, right? Like
Hmm.
squeezing my perineum, like it's a whole thing. I mean, really, people have no idea, but it's like I have got to get back in my body because I can tell when I'm like out and I'm starting to disassociate, and that I'm yeah. And even like at here and I'm writing, I'm in my office. It's like, how can I like stay embodied and more present and slow down? And that is daily work still of me going into my yang. And I know usually my body will speak up when I'm not listening, is that I have like a couple pain points. And so it's usually I injure myself from exercising. It's because I'm overdoing. And it's like, did I need to do 50 burpees last week? Like, no, I didn't, you know? So my
Yeah.
shoulder hurts. And so my body, it's like trusting her wisdom and be like, hey, hun, sister, you're not listening again. Like, And it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not like one of the boys, right? Like, I don't need to keep up with the boys doing 50 like, okay, cool. Let me like get back into my body and like take a bath and like take a walk. Like, yeah,
I love how you say, as
yeah.
part of your definition of the embodied woman, that it's about slowing down.
It's that is it. That is all that I teach when it comes to eating, when it comes to
Mm,
food, when it comes to life, when it comes to embodiment, nourishment, pleasure. I mean, pleasure, anything. Like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's hard to surrender, be in trust and acceptance if we're moving really fast. I mean,
Yeah.
that's hard. But if I'm slowing down, then I can get more into surrender and a place of trust and acceptance, tap into my divine feminine. I can listen. That's when like I can really hear like what's going on with my food, because food is our greatest teacher. It's like, why was I eating fast today? Why was I standing like, oh, cool. Okay, but if we're moving so quickly, we don't have time to listen. It's all about slowing down. I need it like it will be a tattoo somewhere.
Slow down.
I think it's like slow it down, sister. Like
Slow
my,
down and do some more Kegels.
it's literally it is my life. It will be my life lesson, because with slowing down for me is acceptance and trust.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's so good. And that is so like, it's so counterintuitive to what we are taught to do. Like,
Yes.
right? Like we're taught like make it happen, force it, go, hustle, right? Like so to slow down is being in the feminine, but that's not where we've lived,
No,
right?
we
And
conditioned.
especially, yeah,
No,
we've
look
been
at how we
conditioned to go fast.
work 50 hours a week. Go,
Yeah,
go, go.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Amber is one of, I will say, like, probably like you are the epitome and example and embodiment of someone who like really invests in yourself, in your growth. I mean, the tools that this woman has, like I was laughing, like just picturing you at the register, like,
Oh,
hold on a minute, I'm just gonna do some Kegels here. I'm
it's
just gonna do
real.
some, I'm just
It's
gonna
real.
do, yeah. But like she
Yeah.
has, I mean, and she is so committed. Like, I mean, her routine and her rituals and her practices and like I will say without a doubt, like you are a practice what you preach woman, without a doubt. And and I was telling Siri too, like if you feel comfortable, will you share some of the embodiment practices and like I mean, because what's that book that the Wild Woman Embodiment? What's that book that you
Oh, Mama Gina's book, Pussy a Reclamation.
know? But yes, sure.
Yeah. And
That's
then what is the other
there's
book?
another one.
It's called The Wild Woman.
Yes, yes.
It's something like that. It has like a lot of different like practices in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I remember hearing you talk about that. So, you could talk about that or all the other practices, but like, so what would you, I mean, Kegels, we've got breath work, we've got like,
Okay.
what are your go tos when you're like, I need to like get back into my embodiment
Okay.
practice?
Yeah. So for sure, when I started about 4 or 5 years ago, my sensual sexuality kind of embodiment, I took a lot of like dance classes, worked with practitioners, and I started dancing in front of the mirror. Or naked mirror practice is like one of the best ones, especially if you're feeling disconnected with your body or you're having some body dysmorphia. Like get in front of the mirror naked and just breast massage and stomach massage and your thighs. And so that's way I also love to dance as you do. So I live by myself, so I can dance. I can sexy dance. Usually I try to do some sort of like sexy erotic dance and really like start on the floor and like really get connected to my yoni and my womb and deep breathing and like just dance and screaming and using my voice gets me embodied. I love screaming, singing, dancing, a sensual bath, self pleasure. I mean, even just like a breast massage with nice oils, all of that helps me like get back into my body and trying to do that slowly. Like that's why I try to like when I dance to try to do some like slow sensual dance. And if in front of the mirror is even better. Yeah. The mirror work is probably my number one thing. Yeah. And it
I
takes
got I, I gotta try that.
yeah, it takes a minute to work up to. I mean, some women can't look at themselves naked, but like that's fine. You can just look at your chest up or your face. Start
Hmm.
making like eye gazing. I mean, eye gazing is like a very vulnerable, intimate thing to do with yourself for 3 minutes and put on a song and just like stare at your beautiful self in the mirror and your body and your eyes. And it's a beautiful way to get back. It's really hard not to be embodied after you do that. And then you could go deeper and get sexy, like get some oils and like do a whole thing in front of the mirror. I mean, yeah, it's powerful.
I recently had an injury, and so I wasn't able to move. I wasn't able to go to the gym really confidently. And so I had a practitioner I was working with who is a dance expert and a shaman and all of this. And he
Yeah.
said, get in your body, like you're saying. And I put my bathing suit on. I didn't feel good when I first put it on, but I put my bathing suit on and I videoed myself doing a sexual dance on the floor.
Yeah.
And felt so good afterwards. And then my husband was so turned on watching it. And then we had a whole session. Then I did another video. And that was very healing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Very healing. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you realize until you intentionally look in the mirror and
Mhm.
take yourself in how not used to that we are and how uncomfortable we are. Like it's, do you know what I mean? Like I would say the majority of women would feel incredibly uncomfortable with that. And that's normal. And it's a practice and it's like learning to love yourself,
It is.
right?
It's not, I say it like it's easy. It took me a minute, right? I mean, first just start with your face, then
Right.
get in the mirror with shorts and a shirt or bra and panties on and just stare at yourself and maybe try to put your hands on your breast and thank your breast, and then try to put your hands on your stomach and thank your stomach and your womb and this beautiful body that works 24/7. I mean, if only you can look at your shoulders and your arms and your breast, then like great. And then you can gradually like look at your thighs and your butt and every beautiful part. It does, you have to gradually work up to it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the self-love
Yeah.
is quite a journey that we're all on, and I think we'll all forever continue
Forever.
to be
Yeah.
on,
I
right?
have I have relapses, right? It's like I have days where I'm like, eh, and then I know how to like get back in it. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, because I feel like, on this journey, there are like continual phases of evolution. It's like the soul will call you, your soul called you to open up the source. So you did that. And then the soul called you to, it's like there's always something else. And you've done so many different things. Like you've written your books and you did your Holicious show and you're doing the True Body Intelligence
Yeah.
practitioner work. And now you're doing like, tell me a little bit about what you're doing now, like that, and how you're bringing it all together. That's so exciting,
It
right?
is exciting. And I was like anxious. I was like, how am I kept just praying, like, show me how this is all going to come together. How am I going to fuse myself as a chef? And now I'm like this quote unquote healer energy that I'm trying to do. People just know me as a chef. So it's Nourish Your Power feels like this is what it's encompassing, that I can still do private cooking classes and show women what to eat and meal planning and macros, but then also how to eat and embodiment and nourishment and pleasure with food. That all is a very, and then we can get into body stuff and heal, loving yourself. And then I can physically work on the woman too, which feels good, as removing stuck trapped emotions and trauma from the body and the nervous system. And because mostly I work with women that have some sort of food addiction or sexual trauma, but it's also women that just don't love their body and they don't know how to get to that. So it's, I'm fusing it on. So this feels really good. And now of course I want to do a solo podcast, start that. I have so much to say in human design. I'm a manifesting generator, so I always like need, for some reason, to have 8 projects in the air. So I'm trying to focus on Nourish Your Power, but of course it's like not even like it's basically launched, and I'm trying to figure out how to get like this podcast started. And I'm going to finish my book Hungry. That's going to be, because I have a compilation piece that I'm going to be in this next year, but I'm going to finish my other book. So yeah, it's slowing
It's
down
all happening.
and trusting and not being in a race to get it done too is my work. Yeah. And yeah.
And certain things are on the front burner sometimes, certain seasons, and certain things are on the back burner certain seasons, right? I know I'm a manifesting generator too, and
Yeah.
you have so much capability and so much expertise and so much service in you that you want to give to so many people in so many ways. And also
Yeah.
you probably just like to keep things spicy and interesting
Yeah,
for yourself.
sure. Yeah.
When do you feel the most embodied? What are you doing? What do you?
Oh, I mean, when I'm dancing for fun or dancing in general, dancing, I'm like the most embodied. When I'm speaking and like I feel very embodied right now. I feel very embodied and confident and in my power when I'm cooking and creating and serving people, like serving courses or a dinner party. Like it just that makes me feel I'm like in my flow in my zone. And when I'm working with my clients, like when I'm doing body work on people, I am very tuned in and embodied and present. So it's definitely like when I'm being of service, making impact, creating and dancing kind of are like,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very sensual. Like it's all
Yeah.
senses and smells and feeling, right? Like movement
Yes.
and very, it's all embodiment,
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
love.
We've had
Yeah.
some fun dancing
We
together.
really have. We've done some really fun dancing. We've made up some fun routines. Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Um, I love what you said earlier too about like the conversation that you have with your little girl, like just how you speak to her. And Siri and I have talked about that a lot too. Like just having the self-awareness to know like, oh, it's my little girl right now. That's what's happening. Like, so what, what would you say if you could have a conversation with your little girl,
Hmm.
um, the little girl that, started sneaking food, and the
Yeah.
little girl that looked in the mirror and compared herself, like, what would you say, having gone through everything that you've gone through and now being where you're at, like, what would you say to her?
Yeah. Well, she still will come up, right? She'll still want to peer her head for attention. And then I'm like, usually I say to her, I'm so sorry for neglecting you and ignoring you all these years because I know all you wanted was love. All you wanted was to be accepted. And so I'm so sorry because you're perfect and I'm perfect. We're perfect the way we are. And I also say to her now that like you're safe. Like you're safe. Everything is okay. Like we're safe and we're whole and we're perfect and complete. And I see you and I hear you because I ignored her for so long. So I've written a letter to her apologizing because all she wanted was my attention and I ignored her and I hated her for so many, that little compulsive, scared little addict, little triggered little girl. I like couldn't stand her. And so finally part of my healing years ago was like to recognize her and give her so much love and attention and realize she was just scared and wanted to feel safe and accepted and loved. And like that's really when the turning point when I got really a good handle on my self-love and like my eating, my disordered eating. I stopped ignoring her because the more we ignore that little girl, she's just going to come back and bite and fight. I mean, it's yeah. So she's going to win.
You mentioned, you used the word addict, and I know you and I have
Yeah.
a lot in common as far as like
Yeah.
just struggling with addictions of various sorts.
Yeah.
Um, what have you discovered about addiction in your life, and like what's underneath it, how to work with it, how to heal it, how to
Oh, I love this is a good question. Yeah, so for me, addiction, compulsions are kind of the same thing because my addictions or compulsive energy came up first and foremost with food and sugar, but it
Mhm.
also was with money, sex, using men to self-numb, caffeine, and then I got into cocaine and MDMA. So, and then overworking. So it was like it's just like pick my numbing where, and so for addiction or compulsions, for me, when I finally started to realize they're all symptoms. They're all
Mm.
symptoms of something deeper. And I haven't been listening. It's the divine or God trying to speak through me through this addiction or compulsive energy.
Mhm.
So when I want to go binge, when I wanted to go eat 5,000 calories of sugar and then go find a guy to have sex with and go drink a bottle of tequila and do some cocaine and spend $1,000 all in one day, it's like, cool. Those are all symptoms of something deeper of me to be able to slow down and say, what's trying to be experienced here through this compulsion? Like, what is the divine, the universe, God trying to speak? Tell me right now, if I can just
Mhm.
listen. What that's the biggest thing. It's if we can just sit down and listen, something is trying to be uncovered. Oh, I need to have an authentic conversation. Oh, I'm in money fear. Oh, I need to break up with this person. Oh, I'm in this codependent relationship. Oh, I got stuck with this narcissist again. Oh, I'm not speaking my truth. Oh, I've been self-sacrificing. There's all these things that are trying to come in. And that's really where the work comes in. And I think addictions or compulsions can be a blessing. And when we kind of shift and start to look at it as a gift of something deeper, that's where the healing is. And we can heal through our compulsions. I mean, we can use our compulsions to heal. Like when people come and work with me and they're like, oh, I can't stop eating sugar. I can't stop drinking coffee. And I can't, it's like, okay, well, that's just, I can't stop eating ice cream all night. Okay, well, that sugar addiction, if you want to call it that or whatever, like it's just let's dive in. We got to dive in here. This is a blessing. Like this is such a gift of a deeper message, right? If you can look at it like that.
Right. Yeah.
Because you can actually heal through that. Because it's not about the eating the ice cream every night or drinking the bottle. It's not about that or doing the cocaine or whatever. It's what else is out of alignment that you're not looking at. And that's where the work comes in. Right. And
Yeah.
I just wrote down before we started the podcast, success is in the pockets that we avoid. Because
yeah,
it's coming up again as another realization of what conversation am I avoiding? What responsibility am I avoiding? What task do I not want to do that I'm avoiding? And what you're talking about is a lot of like wanting to avoid what I experience when I hear you is wanting to avoid the feeling of
yeah,
whatever that empty void or
sure.
I'm not enough or
Yeah.
nothing's going to fill this whole feeling that we
Oh,
all avoid every day in various ways.
every day. And there's not enough of whatever the thing is to fill that void and that hole to make that feeling go away. I mean, there's just not enough. And you keep on putting it in and putting it in, and hopefully it's going to go away. And like we get a little bit of temporary satisfaction, and then there it is. It's still there. So
Mhm.
getting out of that loop. Yeah, I think addiction is I think everyone's got a little bit of an addiction or a compulsion. Some of us take it to the extreme. I was one of them. And in many ways. And then it just, I mean, it helped me fall on my face to open up to here I am now.
And I like how you're talking about the impetus can be like that feeling of like, I want something, I want something, I want something that we can use that feeling to go to the better thing.
For
Go to
sure.
spirit, go to God, go to our meditation, go to our chanting, go to our dancing, go to these practices. Like use
Oh,
that.
use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really hard. It's obviously a practice. I mean, it still can come up, right? It's like when that feeling comes up, it's like instead of the coffee, the sugar, the alcohol, the whatever the thing, it's like, okay, what's trying to be experienced? What's trying to be uncovered? And can I go into my heart? Can I breathe? Okay, what else can light me up right now? What are the other things? Oh, maybe I need some water, a nap. It can be, what else can I get off on right now that will give me pleasure that's healthy for me?
Mm.
Meditation, maybe it's calling a friend, maybe it's an orgasm. I mean, whatever it is, what else like can juice me up? And that's another thing with compulsions and addictions. It's I find that when I went through my really hard phases with it, there was I wasn't feeling nourished in my life, and I wasn't having pleasure. I wasn't experiencing pleasure. And so,
Mhm.
and I definitely wasn't embodied. So for me to find pleasure and to feel nourished, I was using substances or people to fill me up because I was in so much pain that I didn't want to feel that. Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
there an experience that
Mm.
you've had recently where you've noticed that you're out of alignment and then you have that consciousness and you're like, oh, and then you did something that helped you to come out of it and be in your embodied self?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, I can get pulled out of my center so quickly, and I'm like, why do I want to stand in front? So when I went home to help my parents, probably like 6 weeks ago, I mean, family, God bless them. When you feel so enlightened and empowered, I mean, I can walk into my mother's house and feel like I'm a little kid again, and I want to sneak and hide food. And I'm like, why am I standing in front of my mom's refrigerator with anxiety, wanting to eat grapes? Even if it's just grapes, it doesn't matter. I'm just like the hand to mouth and just so triggered. And I caught myself like, and so it's a pattern interrupt is I've got to get like, I get outside or I go stare at myself in the mirror, or I have some water. I do 10 breaths. And for me, I ask myself some questions and I'm like, oh, okay, here we are. What's trying to be experienced right now? Like, what is trying to be uncovered or experienced? And I always try to ask my heart, but for me, I can't be in the moment of chaos. I have to step out. I need to go to the bathroom at least, stare at myself in the eyes, touch my face, touch my body, be like, okay, hold on, here I am. I'm going to get present. Let me get back into myself, because I can tell when I'm like gone. I'm totally wanting to disassociate. And it's like, I could literally go in there and not even notice me putting 5 cookies in my mouth right now. And I don't do it anymore, but it could happen easily being in that triggered environment. So it's just coming back to center and be like, oh, whew, okay. Like, yeah, God is speaking through me right now. My little girl, I call her Sally. What's up? What's happening? You're safe. We're okay. Yeah, but breath helps, and really eye contact helps. Yeah.
It reminds me of Pema Chodron talks about, like, she uses this analogy of, like, I think she's talking about an itch, like you wanting to scratch it, and how you're just like, okay, stay. Like, stay, don't scratch it, just stay. And it's like, what you're talking about is that it's like feeling that itch, just like, so like all you want to do is just scratch it. And, but having the moment between the scratching and the desire, their impulse to scratch, like to go, okay, what's going on right now? What am I feeling? What am I not wanting to feel? Like, I know that's, for me, that's a big one, is like, a lot of my addiction was like just not wanting to feel the uncomfortable feelings that I was feeling, and like wanting to escape them. And the more time I spend like being in the uncomfortable feelings, I'm like, okay, got through that one. That sucked. That didn't feel good, but I got through it. And I got to the other side, as opposed to, like, you know, picking up whatever it is that I want to pick up and, you know, not feel it. I mean, you are a true body intelligence practitioner, and I worked with the man that you worked with. And part of his whole thing is like eliminating what he calls the daily drugs in order to do this work. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does that do? And what is the purpose of that?
Yeah. So it's eliminating, you know, the dailies. The big one is caffeine, sugar, alcohol. Those are probably the 3 hardest for people. Then I guess cannabis, and then any type of, I guess, recreational drugs or pharmaceutical like Ambien or anything like that. But alcohol, sugar, and caffeine are the hardest. And it's really to help us regulate our nervous system. And it's really hard when we're trying to transmute energy and we're letting go of anxiety and trauma and stress from the body and the tissue. And all of our issues are in our tissues. And if we're jacked up on, especially caffeine and alcohol, and it stays in our body X amount of days and months, the vibration, it's really hard to, we don't want to be in a level 10 fight or flight. And I always was like that because I was so jacked on coffee and I was drinking alcohol 4 or 5 days a week. And so to have, and eating sugar, so to have that energy and those chemicals out of our body, it helps our nervous system. It's basically helping our nervous system regulate.
And helps you to be clear.
Yeah. The alcohol and the caffeine and the sugar are the whammies. The caffeine is still sometimes hard for me, and I can tell. I'll play with it and I'll have a matcha and then it just doesn't feel good. So I just have to remind myself a couple times, you know, a year that it doesn't feel good, but it definitely helps.
The cleaner we get, like, the more sensitive we are when we reintroduce.
We are, and it also affects our kidney, and our kidney chi is where it's basically our powerhouse of all of our energy. So we don't want to rob from our energy center. Yeah, robbing Peter to pay Paul or whatever it is. So yeah.
Do you take, if you're having really bad pain, do you take like Advil or anything like that?
You know what? I do have a relation. I do. So when I'm having like menstrual pain, and, you know, I've been at work where I've had to go lay down in the back of my car in a busy shift and just, I'm bawling. It's like, that's not an option. And so the path of least resistance is like, I'm going to bless my body and I'm going to bless a little bit of Advil. It doesn't happen very often, but yes, I do, because
that's sort of a relief for me to hear, because that's my thing. Menstrual cramps. I'm like, I need 4 Advil now.
Yeah, I'll sit in the pain more so if I'm at home, but if I'm at work, it's impossible. I mean, I can't just go lay down in my car in the middle of a busy shift at the source. Like that's not an option. And
Mhm.
lately when I just hurt my labrum. Well, I didn't hurt it, but it's flared up again. I was in so much chronic pain and I couldn't sleep and it was pulsing down the front. And so they did give me, I went in, I mean, I couldn't walk my dog. So it's hard to heal when you're in so much pain. And I was
Yeah.
doing on it. So I let them give me like a little anti-inflammatory shot. And I
Mhm.
just blessed it when I went to my body. And then I'm gonna try some stem cell and PRP because that's like not my first choice, right? But I was at the point of like, I mean, I was desperate. I couldn't even like sleep. And so it was affecting all
Mm.
areas of my life and my health. Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that kind of like comes full circle. Like when I hear you talk about that, it's like the divine feminine is flexible. Like
Yeah.
there's a rigidity that I have fallen into sometimes where I'm like, it has to be this and this. And it's like, but
Yeah.
the divine feminine is like, there's a flow, there's a flexibility. It's like, yeah, like, so I mostly try not to do Advil, but if I have to, I do. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
I can't. I'm with you,
yeah,
Amber, because and on the flip side, through my 20s and 30s, I mean, I ate Advil like it was candy, right? But I didn't have any other practices. I was not healthy and I abused it. I was on all kinds of stuff. And so
right.
now if I take Advil a couple times a year, God forbid, I'm going to bless it.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, one of my favorite doctors I follow, he just had something happen. He had to take an antibiotic and he got on and he was like, I'm blessing it. I have to take it. I don't want to, but I know my gut's going to be okay. And he's like the most holistic person in the world. And
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's not an everyday thing. I don't just take it lightly.
Yeah.
I'm going to bless it and be flow and know my body is strong and I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah. And not be so rigid.
Is there a part of yourself that you've recently, or at any point really, felt like, and you've sort of touched on this already, that you needed to break up with within yourself?
Oh, wow. Yes. I needed to break up with well, it's kind of the rigidity part of it. About probably like a year ago, still had so many. Well, I would beat myself up if I took an Advil or if I accidentally had a matcha, or I wasn't even drinking matcha and I decided, let me just try it. Or if I go, yeah, for me and being a disordered eater, breaking up with the perfectionist that still
Mhm.
comes out, or worrying if I eat an unclean ingredient, then I'm gonna like be sick. It's like I am so healthy. If I want to go out and have French fries with my nephew or pizza once a year, twice a year, and it's not organic and it's got seed oils, I'm not gonna die. And so breaking and allowing myself to find pleasure in those moments because I don't eat out. And I would freak out. And it's like, Amber, like that was part of me finding more pleasure and being more embodied is allowing myself to go out and enjoy. It's like, I'm gonna go have ice cream with my 8-year-old nephew. You better believe it, it's going to be great. That's great. It doesn't have to be a whole thing, And so that part, I had so many rules. Um, yeah, so many rules,
Because
and I
that can be an addiction too, is being like
yes,
so
sure,
pure. Like
yeah,
they,
and I've gone through that, and so the way I teach, especially my women that can't stop binging, it's like you got to let yourself eat everything because those of us that have restricted our whole life and we've put good and bad on food, like of course if you say that ice cream's been bad for 30 years, and I tell you can't eat ice cream, you're going to want ice cream every day. So the best thing is like go eat some ice cream, go have some pizza, go have a brownie. It's the way we eat it, right? Like sitting
mm,
down and like blessing it, and like so that's the part of me where I've decided, you know what, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And when I say that, like I do eat whatever I want, but it's usually clean until I'm with family or friends and like we're splurging and it doesn't have to be a whole thing. Like I'm gonna go home for Christmas and I'm gonna eat what I want with my nephews. Like it's gonna be great.
But but like you have to understand, Siri, too, how Amber prepares food. Like you you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's so damn good that you feel like you're having a treat. Like it's not like I gotta eat, it's
sure.
like, no, I mean, that like that's your mission, like because you didn't want it to feel restrictive and you didn't want it to feel
Sure.
like people
Yeah,
were missing out. Like, yep, I'm a clean eater and it sucks. Like, no, that's why I love the source so much, because I never feel like I'm missing out on anything. And it's like, yeah, like it's a total treat.
And you can have treats and and I'll do a lot of cooking when I go home, but I definitely let myself, but I pay for it. I don't feel good. Like even if I go out and have French fries and ice cream and I eat just a little bit, I'm bloated, I'm gassy, it's like, cool, I tried it. It's like, it's just, for me, it's like how I feel in my body. It's not worth it. I don't not eat those things because I'm restricting. I don't eat them because they don't make me feel good.
Me too.
So when I create healthy ice cream and brownies and those things at the source, then that's why 924, my other restaurant, God, the French fries were famous because they were organic and they were fried in avocado oil, and like they did not make anyone feel bad. I mean, they were just like, people still ask.
They're so good. Okay, I know we are running out of time, and I want to honor your time, but I want to ask you, because I think I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you, and I love our time together and our walks, and just like sharing this journey with you. And I'm so excited for where you're at right now and what you're offering, and I want people to know more about it. So can you just like, this new thing that you've created, this Nourish Your Power, like what does that look like? Like if I'm a woman and I'm like, I want to work with Chef Amber, like just give me a little taste of like what it looks like, what it feels like.
Yeah, so Nourish Your Power, I'll be doing in-person or Zoom coaching calls that are usually packages, because if you come to me with, say, some sort of disordered eating or wanting to love your body, it's usually a weekly for 3 months. And so there's different packages, in person or Zoom. And I work with women only right now, and also teens. I love working with young girls. And I specialize in body dysmorphia and stepping into your power and confidence, binging, restricting, compulsive dieting, weighing, restricting, I said that, over exercising. So those are kind of and I do work with people with weight loss, but we get to the root cause first. We don't go straight to the weight loss. So when I help do private cooking classes, I'll do like a kitchen hall makeover, meal planning that can be simultaneously being done as we're coaching. And then if somebody wants to dive deep and work on any sort of generational lineage, any sort of trauma or stuck emotions that they're holding in their body, that's where the true body intelligence work comes in. The previous work I was talking about will be mind, body, nutrition, and eating psychology, and self-love embodiment work. The second is a 5-day intensive, which I will do physical energetic work. And then I will also get into your body, working on the 16 meridians that are correlated with your organs in Chinese medicine. And that is big work. Amber, you've done it, and we've both done it with our coach. And that is for someone that, I believe in talk therapy. I love it. I have a therapist, but I believe that until we get into the body, that's where the real transformation comes from. And just helps step into our most authentic self, and releasing, yes, physical pain, but helping our mental, spiritual, and energetic worlds all get into one world. And it's big work, and it's for it's big, it's all big work. So that's also what I offer. So that's how I'm fusing all of it, and that will be all under Nourish Your Power. Yeah
That is incredible.
It's so needed. It's so incredible because it's so holistic. It's like every single aspect, you have it covered. And I think that is very unique.
Thank you. And I'm excited because when women come here, either for the 5-day intensive or if they want to do their hour session in person, I infuse some biohacking. I have a cold plunge, a red light, an infrared sauna, a vitamin D light, EMF mat. I've got these like little Hertz things that I'll put around your ears. Like it's like a whole thing. I incorporate like some of my spirituality, and like we'll do saging and Palo Santo and some chanting. So I'm trying to fuse it all in and have, like you said, it be holistic. Yeah.
I mean, if someone is in that position that you were just mentioning, where there's an excess of anything everyone has something around food, and everyone has some sort of addiction, and everyone pretty much has like some sort of body issue. I mean, most women. It's so needed, and you're so diverse. And I mean, being in your world just sounds like heaven. And I think anyone that we can point in your direction is going to be incredibly served. I'm very excited to share you.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies. Yeah. It's been amazing to connect with you, Siri, and Amber. I love you so much. So
I love you too, my friend.
yeah.
Oh, and I want to go to your cafe.
Yes, come down.
Sounds incredible.
Seriously, when you come visit next time, I'll take you.
For sure.
Yes, please.
I'll take you. All
All
right.
right, ladies.
All right, friend. We'll talk to you soon. Mwah.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Amber. Okay,
Um,
so how amazing are your friends? Um, uh, Seriously, I really mean it, obviously. Like anyone could be so served by, she has such a wealth, like such
I
a
know.
depth and width to what she's into and what she can offer and the ways
know.
that she can offer it. It's pretty unique.
It is. No, I'm telling you, like she's magic. She's, you know, I feel like she's the epitome of like a manifesting generator. Like she's
Yes,
just
yes.
right, like idea,
That's right.
vision, go. Idea, vision, go. Yes, yes, yes. Like she just manifests like no, like, you know, and says yes to everything that she feels called to. And she has invested in herself and her own healing work. Like when I'm talking about like practice what you preach, like she is so authentic. And the thing I love about her too is like she's the kind of coach that she's not going to pretend like she doesn't still have stuff that she works through.
Yep.
But she's going to help you with all the tools and, you know, everything that she's gained and help guide and all, I mean, everything that she does. Like I've done some of the true body intelligence work with her where she's like worked on my body and her intuition, where like she'll just tap into whatever body part there's some stuff that's needing to be released and she'll go. I mean, I had like a full sobbing moment with her where she like tapped into something and I just started sobbing and releasing. Yeah, she's really incredible and she's so loving. She's funny as shit too. Like
I can tell.
Like, yeah, she's really funny. She's a very loving friend too.
I think, and not that she needs another project, and she's probably already thought of this, but it just seems like it would be such a service to the world to like package and distribute what she makes, the balls and the kale and all of that loving vibrational feeling. I mean, that would be such a service. And obviously she's got so many gifts and it's like, well, what do you pick? Because clearly there's so much there.
She also, we didn't even talk about it, but she did a show. Like she filmed a whole show called Holicious that I think she's like pitching.
Oh yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Where it was like a cooking show, but it was also, she had guests on and talked about holistic health and healing. I mean, she's talking about like a one-woman show. And I love watching her bring it all together. Yeah. I feel like the world will know who she is. I mean, she's just like on that trajectory where there's no stopping her.
And also like even just serving her community in the way that she's served you.
Yes.
4 days a week. That's changed your life. Like,
yeah,
we don't all have to be Oprah.
Right.
I mean, like bless her, bless her if that is her destiny. And also also just to shed light on the importance of community, like right here where we are, even just the people that come in through her doors, I think that's enough. Even just that is enough.
You're absolutely right.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Amber, for bringing yet another absolutely incredibly gifted, embodied, kind, generous soul into our world. I'm so grateful that I get to meet these women. And it's, again, I know I always say this, but it is such a reflection of who you are, that these are your friends.
Thank you.
These very evolved people who are so committed. I have so much respect for someone who is so committed, like you said, like she has no problem investing in herself. I have so much respect for that when you are committed to your growth, because we all have demons and addictions and struggles and shadow aspects. But like if we're willing, like she's willing and you're willing and I'm willing, you know, the people that are in my life and I see that are in your life, they're willing to do the work.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's everything. It's not how many freaking vices you have and wounds and, you know, like we all got it, but
Right.
are you willing to show up and do the work? And it's like clearly Amber Caudle is, clearly Amber Susa is, like the people we want to,
Clearly, Siri Baruc is.
you know, like the people we want to serve, because that's what it says in the description of the Embodied Woman membership, these women that we want to serve. It's like, are you committed to your growth? Then if you are, like, here, we're here to hold you up and raise you up, and when you're down, like remind you of who you are. And
That's right.
it takes courage, but it also, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Is to just live in unconsciousness and replay. I mean, we're going to replay patterns anyway, even when we are walking in the light and the consciousness. But like the alternative is to just go back to sleep and like eat 5 cookies and feel shitty and right, like.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. What's the alternative? It's like self-abandonment, self-betrayal, shame, digging out of that and repeating that loop, or waking up and committing to doing the work that it requires to heal some of those patterns and recognize when we are in those, and having the courage, like you and I have been having, to have conversations and be honest and show up and be authentic and feel really uncomfortable feelings and not run away and not, you know, not like participate in unhealthy behaviors that we have in the past, but like showing up.
Yeah, and
Like,
and I think it's just like Amber was talking about is catching it.
yeah,
Like going in the mirror and like touching your face and like catching it, and like I feel like she talked a lot about just noticing and then coming back.
yeah,
And
that's
I think it's not how many times we fall into our patterns and our wounds and our habits and our vices. It's how many times do we, and how quickly do we come back to center?
yeah, you're right. You're so right. And like you said, what's the alternative? Going back to a place where we have no self-awareness around that.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least now there's this gap, right? Of like, when we recognize, like she said, when we see ourselves at the refrigerator just like stuffing, and we go, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? As opposed to just doing that and then like having
Beating yourself up and
yeah, like, so I mean, yeah, that's what it is. It's just doing the best we can every day, doing the best we can every day. And on the days where we don't feel like our best is good enough, having the compassion for ourselves to be like, oh, honey.
Yes. Like she
That's
talks to her Susie. What'd she say? Susie?
Sally.
Sally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Little Sally. Yeah. I don't have another name. I just have little Amber. Oh, little Amber. Oh, sweet girl. I say sweet girl a lot to my little
Love
girl.
it.
Like, oh, sweet girl.
Love
Yeah.
it.
It makes me want to cry when I think about that, because got a little sweet girl. She's just like,
She's
sometimes
doing her best.
she's doing her best, man. Sometimes life is hard.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Well, we could just go on and
I know.
on, but
I know.
we
That
will
was a great conversation.
we will say thank you to those who are listening. We hope that this has touched you or given you a moment of realization. We can't
Yes.
wait to bring you more of these incredible embodied women It's such a
Yes.
joy. It's such a joy to bring these women into the world, like not bring them into the world, bring them through our Embodied Woman channel.
Yes.
And even just do one little, even if we expose them to one more person, it's like, yes.
Yes, and we'll put her information in, but it's, if you want to follow her on Instagram, it's Chef Amber LA. So Chef Amber.
Great.
Yeah, you can find her, Chef Amber. She's all over.
And it'll be in the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes too. Yeah. But she's just got a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and yeah.
Thanks, Amber.
Thank you.
Love you.
I love you too.
This is such a joy. I love it. I love
Me
doing
too.
this.